It is not a secret that through time and history the world has been affected, not only by tragedies such as war or natural disasters. We have also been plagued by viruses and bacteria that have resulted in the worst diseases and pandemics, which have devastated the lives of many. Today we are going to go over some of the worst epidemics that have hit the world. Third Cholera Pandemic 1852 to 1860. To date there has been 7 cholera pandemics throughout human history. The deadliest, however, is considered to be the third, which happened around 1852 and 1860. The main symptoms were diarrhea and vomiting, which resulted in dehydration, giving as a result the most deaths of any 19th century epidemic. The third cholera pandemic, it's believed that it began in India and spread across Asia, Europe, North America and Africa, to countries like Russia where over 1 million people died. It took a long time for the cause of cholera to be found. In 1854, British Dr. John Snow, who was working in a poor area of London, discovered that contaminated water was the reason. And it was this breakthrough that eventually allowed officials to get control of the cholera pandemic. The Asian flu pandemic 1957. One popular theory suggests that it comes from a mutation in wild ducks that joined together with a typical human strain to create the new disease. This was one of the 3 flu pandemics during the 20th century, being the least deadly, with estimated global death figures ranging between 1 and 4 million. It was first reported in Singapore in February 1957, Hong Kong in April 1957, and in coastal cities in the United States in summer 1957. Thanks to the fact that a vaccine was created in 1957 that helped stem the rash of infections of this avian flu. World War I Typhus Epidemic. Epidemic typhus is known for causing epidemics following wars and natural disasters. This typhus outbreak was another devastating result of the World War I. It was caused by bacteria whose symptoms include severe back pain and delirium. This particular outbreak originated with lice. Between 25 and 30 million cases were reported across Soviet regions, with 3 million Russians and even more Poles and Romanians dying from infection. It's believed that fatalities were between 10 and 40% of those infected. Sadly, the disease was a major cause of death for those who were nursing the sick. The plague of Justinian 541 to 542. One of the most virulent pandemics in history. This plague is believed to have been brought to the Byzantine Empire and Constantinople by rats that had fleas infected with plague traveling from Egypt on grain boats. This plague left the Byzantine Empire short of healthy citizens who were militaries, making the empire severe weak. The infected people experimented chills, vomiting and increased sensitivity to light. The mortality rate of this plague took 5,000 lives each day. The first wave of this disease eradicated 40% of Constantinople population. In other words, death toll was equivalent to as much as half of Europe's population at that time. The Antonine Plague of 165 to 180 AD. It came to the Roman Empire by the soldiers returning from fighting Western Asia. The plague even claimed the life of Emperor Lucius Verus, who died in 169 CE. Also, it's believed that this disease came back 9 years later, killing 2,000 people in a day only in Rome and around 5 million others. The Third Plague Pandemic. This plague was a major bubonic plague pandemic, beginning with diseased rodents in China's Yunnan in the 1850s, spreading to all populated areas of the globe due to the world's interconnections. This pandemic killed 10 million. And that was just in China and India. It affected 500 million people, killing between 50 and 100 million. HIV/AIDS. It's considered a global pandemic. Statistics shows that for 2018, approximately 37.9 million people were infected with HIV globally, theorized to have spread from primates to humans in the 20th century. However, there was a case of an HIV-infected human in the Congo in 1959. Finally, in the early 1980s, the disease was detected and named in the United States. This epidemic, known as AIDS, spreads really fast. There is no cure for HIV, but there is treatment. Without HIV treatment, your immune system can become weak, and you can become sick with life-threatening illnesses. This is the most serious stage of HIV infection, called AIDS. Anyone can be infected with HIV, no matter their sex or age. The Spanish flu. It lasts from January 1918 to December 1920. It's also considered the deadliest in history. It infected an estimated 500 million people around the world, which is about 1/3 of the planet's population at that time, and killed an estimated 20 million to 50 million victims, which included some 675,000 Americans. According to the experts, the Spanish flu was the first of two pandemics caused by the H1N1 influenza virus, with the second being the swine flu in 2009. The Black Death, also known as the pestilence or Great Bubonic Plague. It's been considered one of the most devastating pandemics in the human history, beginning in the 14th century but affecting Europe until the 17th. The Black Death is thought to have killed between 75 and 200 million people, which represented roughly 30 to 60% of Europe's entire population at the time. Suspected by many to be a version of the bubonic plague that originated in infected rodents, the Black Death was considered the first major European outbreak of plague and the second plague pandemic. This situation created a number of changes on religious, social and economic aspects in Europe's history. As we have just seen, the world has been affected with different plagues and viruses. However, humanity has been able to overcome many of those virus and sickness. Medicine has improved in all aspects, allowing the control of many of these diseases, and giving hope against the fight of these viruses. Thank you for watching. If you learned something new today, don't forget to give us a like. You can also share this information with a friend, and join our family by clicking the subscribe item.